Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Authorities in France say that they are on the hunt for several unknown suspects this week, following the attempted theft of 2 truckloads of high-priced champagne, a situation that ended in a dramatic high-speed chase. According to reports, the whole thing started sometime on November 11th, when the thieves stole the 2 trucks near the city of Reims. The vehicles were each filled with bottles of Moet and Chandon, one of the world's most renowned brands of champagnes. Each truck contained about 300,000 euros worth of the bubbly, making the total haul worth around $650,000 US. Luckily for the champagne maker, though, the trucks were equipped with tracking devices, which quickly allowed police to locate the suspects as they drove towards Paris. Authorities caught up to them on the A4 motorway, where a high-speed chase began. The first truck was recovered after the suspect who was driving it allegedly tried to swerve into one of the police cars, and the maneuver backfired, allowing officers to force the vehicle to the side of the road. As this happened, the driver jumped from the still-moving truck and got into a BMW that was being driven by one of his other accomplices. In the meantime, an officer involved in the chase sprinted towards the truck, which was rolling along at about 10 miles per hour. The officer managed to jump inside and safely bring the vehicle to a stop. The second stolen truck was recovered after it was abandoned by the thieves just off a highway exit a short distance up the road. Unfortunately, by the time police got there, all of the suspects had escaped. It wasn't all bad news for authorities, though. In addition to retrieving the 2 stolen trucks, it said that all of the stolen champagne was recovered, with the bottles intact and unbroken. There were also no injuries reported. At the time of this recording, police are still searching for those responsible for the failed heist. Authorities in the Australian state of Victoria say that a man was left in critical condition this week following a terrifying home invasion in which he awoke to find himself being attacked by 3 armed suspects. The whole thing began at around 4:40 a.m. on November 15th, when police began receiving 000 calls from residents of Maisie Court in the Melbourne suburb of Roxburgh Park. The disturbed callers said that they heard what sounded like screams coming from one of their neighbors' houses. Police now say the address in question was the scene of a violent home invasion, a crime that left one of the homeowners, 44-year-old Jamal Yunin, fighting for his life. According to reports, Yunin was asleep in bed when 3 armed suspects broke in. After entering his bedroom, they began stabbing him repeatedly in the head and upper body. The 44-year-old's wife and 4 children were also home at the time, who were allegedly threatened by the attackers with a gun. That gun was apparently fired inside the house at one point, and Yunin's 16-year-old son also suffered minor injuries when he tried to intervene in the attack. Soon after, the suspects fled the scene. At the time of this recording, authorities say Yunin is in critical but stable condition. While no official motive has been released in the case, it's believed that the incident was targeted. There are also local media reports that have speculated the stabbing could be related to another violent knife attack that happened nearly 4 years earlier. That incident, which took place in December of 2019, left 3 people requiring surgery after a fight broke out at a reception center after a concert. It's alleged that Yunin was part of a group of men who began fighting about who would be paying for alcohol, and that he ended up injuring several people with a kitchen knife. The 44-year-old is still scheduled to stand trial over the situation. Currently, police are asking for anyone who witnessed this week's attack or who might have CCTV or dashcam footage to please come forward. Authorities in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh say that a 39-year-old suspect is in custody this week, more than 17 years after he allegedly carried out the chilling murder of a homeless man so that he could fake his own death to commit insurance fraud. The whole thing started sometime back in 2004, when a then 20-year-old Anil Singh Malek reportedly started planning the scheme with his brother and father. They purchased a brand new car and life insurance policy in Int'l's name for 2 million rupees, or roughly $24,000 US. The policy stated that in the event of an accidental death, 4 times this amount would be paid out to the family. For about 2 years, Int'l and his family apparently played it cool, until July of 2006, when they decided to put the next phase of their plan into action. After finding a homeless man in their home city of Agra, Int'l and 2 other accomplices pretended to befriend him and took him to a hotel where they gave him some food. That food was allegedly laced with sedatives, and once the man was unconscious, Int'l and the other accomplices put him in the driver's seat of Int'l's car and deliberately crashed it into a telephone pole. Once the vehicle caught fire, they fed the flames with gasoline to make sure that as little evidence would be left behind as possible. When police came across the burnt-out car and discovered it belonged to Int'l, they went to speak with his father, who allegedly played his part in the conspiracy by identifying the victim's remains as those of his son. Once the insurance policy paid out and the money was split up, Int'l reportedly left home and started a new life about 450 miles away in the city of Ahmedabad. For more than 17 years, Int'l was able to stay under the radar. He started going by the name Rajkumar Chaudhry, was able to obtain fraudulent paperwork under this new identity, and found work as a taxi driver. He also married and had 2 kids, none of whom knew about his former life. According to reports, that all came crashing down this week when an anonymous tip blew the case wide open. When police found Int'l and questioned him, he allegedly confessed and revealed everything that had happened. He was arrested on forgery charges for faking his new identity, though it said he will soon be handed over to authorities in Agra, who are handling the investigation into the murder of the unidentified homeless man. At the time of this recording, it's unclear if Int'l's family members and other alleged accomplices have been arrested or are facing charges yet. The situation is still developing. Representatives from England's Nottinghamshire police are asking for the public's help in identifying a suspect this week, after a man dressed up as a Nintendo character allegedly bottled the teenage girl at a Halloween party, leaving her with injuries that required reconstructive surgery. According to reports, the incident took place on the night of October 27th at the Roebuck Inn in Nottingham. Authorities say that shortly before midnight, a fight broke out between 2 groups of people who were there to celebrate Halloween. The 17-year-old victim attempted to intervene and calm the situation down when she was allegedly struck in the face with a glass bottle by a man involved in the fight. The man was apparently dressed as the Mario Brothers character Waluigi at the time. While the man's outfit may have been comical, the victim's injuries were not. She was apparently left with 13 damaged teeth and cuts to her face and lips that required reconstructive surgery. At the time of this recording, the suspect remains at large, though police are hoping that by releasing these images of him and publicizing the case, they will be able to identify and arrest him. Anyone with information about the case is encouraged to contact Nottinghamshire Police or reach out anonymously via Crime Stoppers. Authorities in Costa Rica announced the arrest of 8 employees at the country's biggest commercial bank last week after they were accused of carrying out a multi-million-dollar ongoing theft scheme, one that has been described as the largest bank heist in the country's history. Though the investigation was first announced last month, the whole thing apparently began back in August, when internal audits at the National Bank of Costa Rica revealed that money was missing at a major branch in the capital of San Jose. Things soon snowballed when it was allegedly discovered that not only had more than $6 million US worth of cash been taken, but that evidence suggested it was an inside job. According to reports, police now believe that the theft happened over an extended period of time, with those responsible taking advantage of surveillance blind spots and lax security in the bank to carry out the crime. What's been most embarrassing for bank officials, though, is that it seems a lot of the cash was put into envelopes and simply walked right out the front door. The primary perpetrator is said to be a low-level bank employee who may have been spending as much as $6,000 of the stolen cash a day on lottery tickets. What's caused even more controversy, however, are allegations concerning how the suspects were able to get away with this for so long. It said that there may have been orders from employees in higher positions at the bank to cover up the fact that money was missing, and apparently, prior to the internal audits this past summer, the last time a physical accounting of the bank's cash was done was in 2019. The whole thing has understandably caused a firestorm of outrage across the country, with many at the bank now racing to point fingers in order to avoid taking blame. Currently, authorities say that they are still investigating the situation and that more arrests and charges could come. Representatives from the South African Police Service say that they are searching for a woman in her 30s following a dramatic incident last week in which she allegedly torched a bus after an argument with a transit company. According to reports, the whole thing unfolded sometime on the morning of November 2nd at an Eagle Lines bus depot in the city of Port Elizabeth. It began when the suspect, an unidentified woman in her 30s, began arguing with staff members of the transit company over a lost cell phone. During the argument, the woman allegedly became quite heated, uttering threats before storming off. It appears that staff members didn't take the woman all that seriously until a short time later when they noticed smoke billowing from the parking lot outside. That's when they reportedly discovered that the woman had set one of their buses on fire, apparently in retaliation for her missing phone. By the time help arrived and the blaze was extinguished, the bus in question had been almost completely destroyed. Another vehicle nearby reportedly sustained fire damage as well as a result of the incident, with the transit company estimating the whole thing will cost them the equivalent of about $176,000 US. At the time of this recording, police have not identified the female suspect, though it appears that they know who she is. Authorities say that they are still searching for her, though so far have been unable to find her at her home or any of the places she usually visits. It's also unclear how she allegedly started the fire that destroyed the bus. Authorities in the Thai province of Surat Thani say that they are investigating a disturbing murder case this week after the body of a man was found under gruesome circumstances, a crime which locals allege is a case of human sacrifice. The case began sometime this week when the remains of 53-year-old Sangyam Penrum were found at his home on a rubber plantation in Kanchanadit district. At first, it appeared Sangyam was sitting on his knees in front of the house with his body leaning over towards the ground. However, things quickly took a dark turn when those who found him took a closer look. That's when they realized that he was missing his head. A 12-inch knife, believed to be the murder weapon, was found nearby. According to police, it's not exactly clear when Sangyam died, as in the days leading up to the disturbing crime, he was at his residence alone. He and his wife divorced 3 years ago, and his mother-in-law, who still lives with him, was hospitalized for a medical condition. After interviewing nearby residents, police reportedly arrested a man identified only by the name Kung. Kung was known for digging at several spots in the area in search of treasure, as well as performing so-called rituals. This has led to both locals and police suspecting that he may have killed Sangyam and taken his head as part of a human sacrifice. At the time of this recording, Kung reportedly remains in custody, though it's unclear what, if any, evidence authorities actually have against him. So far, they have apparently been unable to find the victim's missing head, and say that they are still processing the alleged murder weapon to see if any physical evidence can be obtained from it. The situation is still developing. Authorities in the German state of Baden-Württemberg say that one 15-year-old boy is dead this week and another has been arrested for his murder after he allegedly showed up at school with a handgun and shot him in cold blood. The incident began on the morning of November 9th when the suspect, 15-year-old Matea Zigri, told his mother that he was too sick to go to school. She allowed him to stay home. However, unbeknownst to her, as soon as she left, the teen began searching for the key to his grandfather's gun cabinet. He apparently found it a short time later, took a handgun and ammunition, and then left the house. At about 11:50 a.m., Zigri showed up at the Waldbach Special Needs School that he attended in the city of Offenburg. After entering a classroom, he walked up to another 15-year-old student, identified only by the name Pavlos. Seconds later, a horrifying tragedy unfolded. According to reports, Gqeberha first covered Pavlos in some kind of flammable substance and attempted to set him on fire. However, when his lighter proved to be defective, he pulled out the handgun and shot him twice in the head instead. The shooting sent the school into a panic, with teachers and students attempting to barricade themselves inside their classrooms. Gqeberha allegedly attacked a teacher who suffered minor injuries before he was stopped by a parent who happened to be inside the school and who managed to get him to put down his weapon. The man was able to hold Gqeberha until police could arrive and place him under arrest. Sadly, the victim was later pronounced dead at a local hospital. At the time of this recording, few other details are available about the incident. No motive has been released, though police have stated they believe the situation was, quote, personal. Gqeberha's mother, meanwhile, says she believes her son may have been inspired to carry out the attack because of something he recently saw on TikTok covering a similar incident. She also says that she and her husband are now under investigation as well, as police are considering whether to hold them responsible for the fact that their son was able to obtain a weapon. Currently, though, it appears formal charges have yet to be laid. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.